DIYers, welcome in, welcome in. First and foremost, thank you for choosing to join us today for this impromptu conversation, unexpected conversation. This definitely wasn't on my itinerary this week, but as the internet happens, sometimes you get some unpredictable things that happen, and I'm grateful for it. With that said, though, I want to make sure as you come on in here, you hit that like button. And I'm going to preface this before we come on camera. DIYers, you already know what we lead with. We lead with respect, and we're going to make sure that we keep the respect there. I invite folks on here, even if we have a difference of opinion. But the goal is always to get to the answers, to get to the truth, and to help assist us in our independence. And I'm smiling, and we're going to explain why I'm smiling as I'm looking over here at RSONIST as I say that. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, please, a warm welcome for RSONIST of the HEATMAKERZ. First and foremost, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Let me go ahead and cut this music down. Shout out to the homie Stolen Drums one time. But yeah.
Who did that?
Huh?
It's a dope beat. Who
Man,
did that?
shout out to Stolen Drums from Atlanta. It's my guy, man. He's been the soundtrack of the channel, so I love the sound that he's able to establish. But man, first and foremost, thank you for choosing to be here. Under the circumstances, I wish it could have been a different way, because before we even get into this dialogue,
good, man. It's all good.
yeah,
It's all good. No worries, man. It's all good.
And I don't say that from any kind of apologetic place. We had an opportunity to chop it up. We have a difference of opinion on a few things, but for the most part, what I love is the fact that you do champion for producers. You do champion about making sure that we are properly compensated. And I did not miss that in the midst of the things that I was like, well, why would he say that? But I wanted to, well, first of all, you reached out to me. How the hell did you even see that it would even happen?
I'm going to tell you the crazy part. As your show is going on, somebody hits me on the DM with a link. I didn't even know what the link was, but something just said, I don't even normally click links. I just clicked the link, and it took me straight to your live show.
Okay.
And it was right at the point where you were like, yo, because I seen the title. The title said, he says independence is a lie. I still didn't know you was talking about me as I'm watching it.
You on the thumbnail, though.
Say that again?
I say, were you on the thumbnail, though, wasn't you? You just clicked on the link. It's all good. You was on the thumbnail, though, but
remember,
yeah, it's all good.
And then I caught the part of the statement where you were basically, naming La Russell, naming Master P, and you said, if it was coming from them, it'd be different because they've been championing independence, and
Right.
I guess it didn't hold the same amount of weight coming from me. That's how I took it. And
Right.
then I heard you, you made a statement about how is this the worst time? You're about to build a new sound stage and da-da-da-da-da. And, again, I never once said that we're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
That was never a statement that came out of my mouth. So I was kind of confused when I heard you say that because, again, looking at your platform, I would expect you to be buying a new sound stage. You should be making a shitload of money off of YouTube because you got a bunch of subscribers. So that was never the point I was trying to make. And I didn't want people to get it confused as if I'm saying like, yo, there's no money in this game. Leave now. Whatever you thought it was is not. I'm not saying. I've never said that. I love music. This is how I feed my family. So I could never be saying that independence, the whole thing itself doesn't exist. I'm saying what we think is independence is not independence.
And see, these are the clarifying moments that if this interview would have happened in say 03, 04,
right.
we may not have the platforms to have a conversation that is producer to producer in front of human beings that are in here that are able to kind of have input along the way. So let me make sure I acknowledge the chat first and foremost. I thank y'all for being here once again. But to bring them up to speed, would you mind if I played a little bit of a snippet of the conversation? He said, play the whole. I ain't finna do all that, but I want to make sure that we're able to kind of touch on the points that we touched on and kind of gain the clarity. Let me ask you this. Would you prefer the video that I reacted to or in the full context, the interview that you had with Bag Fuel? Because I got both of them open here.
I mean, it's up to you. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I can explain both. It doesn't matter.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to pull up the one that I had only because it gives a little bit of context that maybe wasn't there. But for those of you that don't know what's going on and how in the hell RSONIST and I are having a conversation, I made this video last week as a live stream before I chopped it up for the content on Monday. The basis of the conversation or the video that I was reacting to was Arsonist had an interview with Bag Fuel. And on this podcast, he was basically talking about many different things dealing with the music industry and his career. And man, just some of the most legendary Dipset and Cameron records. I only name those, even though I know your discography is extensive. Those are my favorites, right? Some of my favorite records. But with that said, somebody sent me this clip, and it was on Instagram, and it was a little bit out of context. So I always make sure I go to the original video. But this is when I reacted to the actual video. Let's go ahead and play just really quick so you guys can remember and bring up to speed.
Universal Records makes...
Hold on just a second.
Universal Records, about 30 to 40% owner.
I think it's still important to fact check things like this. I say, hey, Google, how much does Universal Records own a percentage of...
DIY?
Okay, DIYers. So this was brought to my attention by one of my Instagram friends, and Dale Diddy.
Make sure I fast forward a little bit. I want to get to the comments.
To be as an artist or musician today.
Universal Records makes $51 million a day. I don't know if you knew that, right?
I believe it though.
Universal Records is, I don't want to get the percentage wrong, about 30 to 40% owner of Spotify.
Hold on just a second. It's very important, especially in this age of social media where you can get clips like this very quickly and numbers can be thrown at you very quickly. What he said, Arsonist, is that Universal Music Group specifically is an owner of Spotify, or at least has shares within Spotify, owns a percentage of Spotify. The other stat that he laid out, Universal Records makes $51 million a day. I think it's still important to fact check things like this. I ran a Google search and I said, how much does Universal Records, Universal Music Group, make a day? This is as early as July 21st, 2023 on Zippia, which basically runs through the numbers that are reported by these business entities. Universal Music Group makes $18.7 million in a day. The number that he just gave is a bit exaggerated.
Universal Records is, I don't want to get the percentage wrong, about 30 to 40% owner of Spotify.
I said, hey, Google, how much does Universal Records own a percentage of Spotify? They came back with a whopping 3%. All right, so let's start here, because this is not the basis of the conversation. No matter what the percentage of the numbers are, the point is still being made, and I made sure that was reiterated, Arsonist. This is where I think that, this is where my mind goes, because I've been around this long enough to be like, yeah, this is a legend. He knows his shit. He's privy to information that we're not going to have if we're not in the room. So you don't want to just negate it off. But if that is indeed the truth, if that is indeed the exact numbers that is going on, we need to fucking know this if we think that we're independent, right? So I look them up and I see that. And I'm like, it's not even a ballpark around there. So then I got questions at that point in time. But with that, is there some kind of way to kind of clear up? Is there like a different stat that we're supposed to be looking at? Am I supposed to be looking up something different? Because you said Universal Music Label and not Universal Music Group.
Right, here's what I'm saying to you. This is the point that I'm making. Even if the numbers are off, I'm not saying your numbers are exact or my numbers are exact.
Sure.
I think people are missing the point. And like we spoke about earlier, if I play for a basketball team and I want a fair shot at playing, the coach can't own the team. Because I have nobody to complain to. You understand?
Right.
If the coach is doing me dirty and I go to the owner and it's the same person, how does that make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, if I'm a so-called independent artist and I have a problem with how much streams I'm getting,
mm-hmm.
and I go complain to Spotify, and again, if you really think logically, does it make sense for Universal to just own 3% of Spotify? Does that, like, can you see a multi-billion-dollar company just owning 3% of, like, why do you think Tidal started with artists? You don't think Jay-Z and Beyonce knew something before they started Tidal? They knew that they were going to be up against something that wasn't fair.
Sure.
Correct?
Sure. And this is why I want to fact check it, because if it is indeed more than that, the conversation you have becomes that much more important. Because if that's what's being reported, we got an issue. Like, somebody just had to, not somebody, my former manager, man that goes by Salas Money from Los Angeles. He talked to me and he was like, why? Because I was going off, Arsonist. I was like, I'm ready to leave completely and really further be independent in what I'm doing from the streaming companies and take my music all the way off of there. Kind of do what Prince did in 2015. And then he came to me, he was like, well, why does it have to be an either or and why does it have to be an or and not an and? And he gave the example of, for instance, if you have like a mom and pop spot that you go to that has the best of your favorite food, but they only accept cash, it becomes an inconvenience to the people who want to support. Same thing with us as artists. We have people who want to support our music. It's an inconvenience if they want to go to the gym and play your shit off of Apple Music as opposed to a Bandcamp or your website, because they have developers and people who made this strictly for that. However, that doesn't stop us from the opportunity of having platforms that are independent of these. And this was the point that I was making. Yeah, if my thing is this, I've been the person that's complained about Spotify many a times, or just streaming in general. I'm also the person that gets tired of the fucking whining for myself. And I'm not saying that was you, just me in general. I get tired of it and I'm like, so what you gonna do about it? All right, let's figure out how we can make bread aside from here. Well, I sold 2 autographed CDs and that would have been the equivalent of 6 months of work and streaming for me going the way that I've been going. So I looked at that and said, okay, well then that to me is a separation. That to me is me as a merchant having the independence or having the flexibility that somebody who signed can't just jump off the streaming because you're under contract to stay there.
Of course, I get that. And see, that's when I mention independence, people automatically jump to that thing as far as like, if I don't have to answer to anybody, I'm independent. Yes, that's a form of independence. But again, like we spoke about earlier, if I sign a contract not knowing all the information, I did not make an independent decision.
Sure, I agree. I mean, it's your independent responsibility, but yeah, you didn't make an independent decision.
Here's a perfect example. If I invite you out to a spot and I say, yo, there's going to be pretty women there, it's in a mansion, it's beautiful, and then you show up, it's a bunch of dudes with guns and knives and shit. You didn't make that decision based on the facts. You made it based on what I told you.
Yes.
So you did not make an independent decision at that point. I made the decision for you by telling you a bunch of other shit.
I agree. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying with the music industry. If we don't know all the facts, then we can't be playing the same game they're playing.
Sure.
It's impossible.
Which is why I always make the argument that if we're going to be talking independence, and this is something I made before I even saw your clip, if we're going to be talking independence, I think we need to have independence of thought, because if you're going by the standards that were set by a record label that was here way before us and our parents were born, and they've established that this is the way that these are the things you're supposed to value. These awards, these kind of ceremonies, these kind of thresholds, these kind of sales, you're going to always be playing a losing game because it's you versus a corporation of people that have 200, 300 employees. You're never going to win that by yourself. So my argument has been this: to be independent, you must separate at some level from the ecosystem that is the major label ecosystem, because that is its own world in itself. It feeds itself. It figures out how to live on its own decision making. But independently, we must figure out how to build our own ecosystem and redefine what success looks like. But that's my thing. It does exist, at least from what I see it as.
Think about this, right?
Sure.
Here's what I'm saying to you. If, let's just say, quote unquote, independent artists started taking over and you didn't hear a bunch of major label artists coming out, but yet, even if it's let's just say 3%, because people,
sure,
Universal owns 3%. Let's just say it's 3%.
Which is still a conflict of interest, which was your point, right?
Yes, because at the end of the day, whether you want to or not, you feed the machine with your sales.
Sure.
So they will never go out of business, is my point. They will always be a major label as long as quote unquote independent artists exist. That's my problem. You understand? Like, they're not working for their spot now. They're working off the sweat of our back. So if we put out a record, and even if they get 3%, that's 3% I didn't want them to have. That's the reason I stayed on this side of the fence. But now that I know that they get piece of that, it changes everything for me.
I'm with you.
That's my point. Yes, you understand? So I'm not trying to, the percentages don't really make that big of a difference to me. It's the fact that it's a conflict of interest. I have nobody to complain to. Like, you ever heard, like, Big had a line in his song where he said, I got lawyers watching lawyers so I don't go broke.
I remember that.
It's the same type of concept. It's like, who's gonna police the police?
Right.
That's where we're at. So when people get mad at me for making a statement, is there money in the music game? 1,000,000%. I make money. I make thousands of dollars every month off of quote unquote independent empire thing, stuff that I've done that I own percentages of. Of course, I still make money from it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I would love to know what's the real price of the stuff that you're paying me for. Because I don't know, because every platform has a different percentage. Tidal pays this, Apple Music pays this, Spotify pays this, YouTube pays this, Google Play pays, like, what are we talking about?
I'm with you.
Imagine walking into a mom and pop store. In the front of the store, Wu-Tang CDs $6.99. In the back of the store, the Wu-Tang CDs $10.99. Same CD. Wouldn't you ask questions?
I'd have a lot of questions, for sure.
This is where we're at. Nobody's asking questions. I'm just bringing it up so people start asking questions. That's it.
And I'm glad that you did. And shout out to Young Guru who just came in here right now. Always an honor to have you in here. This is my
Guru, my brother. What's
you know
up?
what I mean? So this is my question to you. And this is kind of playing devil's advocate, but it's also another point that I've always make when it comes to what does independence mean even beyond music, right? What does independence mean when you are that mom and pop business if you're still paying rent on a location that has a parking lot that you didn't pay for? You don't own the land. You just own
But look, you made that decision based on the facts. So you are independent in that sense. So I don't expect you to own the building. If you can own the building, even better. But you made the decision to say, I'm going to rent this place with the lot. I know exactly what I pay every month. I know if I don't pay my rent, I have all the information. I made that independent decision.
So let me ask you this. With that in mind, that's interesting that you say that. With that in mind, what is the difference between that mom and pop business that pays for third-party service or third-party services, right? For instance, their ATM machine, you probably got to pay an extra fee just to be able to have it inside your space. Even like a vending machine, you probably got to pay that. Yeah, you could have your own sodas and everything, but if you got a vending machine, that could be another source of income, even like the little bubblegum machines. So then the same conversation that you're having about the streaming websites, my question, I'm not making a statement. My question is, why are we not able to see them as a third-party entity that is a necessity for us to conduct business independently instead of them being something that is our boss because they don't really dictate our art?
Of course we can, but we start off as an independent artist, we start off at a disadvantage because, like I told you before, if Universal owns any piece of Spotify, if they put an artist out the same day I put my independent artist out, who do you think is going to get more love? They have a vested interest in that company. Yeah, and that company has a vested interest in them. So I'm already behind the 8 ball.
Sure. Which is why I say a separation from the ecosystem in some shape or form. And not even when I keep saying separation, I'm not talking about some wild revolutionary idea. I'm talking about have your music up there as a service to the people that want to support you in that way. Right? For the people who come into your store and say, I want to use credit card, I got something for you. All right. I'm going to make sure you're able to take care of it. It costs me a little extra money to have this service, but I'll do that. For the people who want to pay cash, you already know I got you. So what I'm saying is, as us in this space where business wise, we'll never really quite be independent. I'll tell you this, Arsonist, at one point I wanted to leave YouTube to start my own version of a YouTube with all the content that I had. Then I figured out that's not my passion. This shit is work. To make my own YouTube is a lot of work, and I figured out that a lot of my ownership was based in ego. And I see that out here now. When you say independent artists, it's like their independence is not based upon being pro-independence. Their independence is being anti-industry. And that's not my energy.
Look, again, everything I said, people took it the wrong way, like I'm Mr. Champion Independence. I'm not. That's not what I'm here for.
Right.
I just asked a simple question. What is a stream worth?
Yeah.
That's it. If somebody can answer that for me, that helps solve the independence problem. Until that can be answered, we don't have all the information. Therefore, we cannot make an independent decision to jump on these websites or to jump on these streaming platforms.
Well, just to add a wrinkle, because I'm with you 1,000%. I'm with you on that. It makes so much more sense in this context because we're able to ask you questions, right? And we appreciate your time and your knowledge on this. So with that said, on a Bandcamp front, are you familiar with Bandcamp?
Yeah, I don't use it personally, but I'm familiar with it, yeah.
So with Bandcamp, they give the option for you to basically put up the WAV version of your album, your beat tape, instrumental, whatever you want to do. Put it up there, and basically in the midst of that, you can determine whatever price you want that individual song to be.
Right.
To whatever it is. And on top of that, you can do pay what you want beyond this threshold. So I think even as Even does that too, right? But Even I know is invite only right now. So I even put an invitation in. We'll see whenever that happens. I would love to start covering their platform. But in the midst of that, I look at a Bandcamp and they just got sold. So who knows what the hell that's going to be in the next few months, right? They just got sold, but they have the platform that says, hey, this album that Spotify won't even give me the fucking option on EP to go beyond $5.99. I can't even have the option to not sell no copies at $12.99. They make that decision for me. At least on a Bandcamp, I can say $12.99, $15.99, and then whatever you want to pay after that. You know what happens when I do that? People pay $50 because that project meant that to them.
To you.
Yeah.
Knowing that, right? Wouldn't that lead you to believe that we don't get paid as individual artists? That we're somehow grouped into a lump sum and get
for
paid?
Sure.
Of course. So that's crazy in itself.
Yeah.
We talked about before.
Yeah.
You might have a platform, and then because your platform is getting a bunch of streams, out of nowhere, here comes a promotion for Drake's playlist.
Yeah, or Coca-Cola.
Right, exactly. So what I'm saying is, who knows what this other service is paying them to put that ad in that place? Do you see any of that?
No.
Of course not.
No.
That's my problem. My problem is, let's be transparent. And who would audit Spotify if the company we would talk to audit Spotify is in bed with Spotify?
I'm with you 1,000%.
Who's going to push the button and say there's bad business practices? Let's look into this.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do. And again, I'm not pointing the finger directly at Spotify. I'm saying streaming platforms in general. We need a better understanding of how we're getting paid out.
Well, I got the ultimate beef with them. I got an ultimate issue with it because I'm like, the same pricing model that was established when they made the pivot from Napster has not shifted.
And I think you heard me say that in the interview.
I echoed that. Yeah.
So again, you look at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Suppose they were getting the same advertisement dollars for the Super Bowl as they was in the 80s. Companies would be like, all right, cool, I'll pay $15,000 for a 30-second ad. Now the shit is up to, what are they getting for a 30-second ad in the
damn
Super
near
Bowl?
like $3 million, $5 million for that. Yeah.
Again, all right. So now let's just say we look at it this way. Look at the viewership of the Super Bowl. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't want to throw out any numbers. I don't know what it is. Now look at the viewership of some people's albums.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. Are they getting those type of numbers?
Can I give you perspective on that? A little bit, especially from a YouTube point of view, because you're making a valid point with YouTube. They say, you familiar with Mr. Beast?
No.
Okay, no. Mr. Beast does like these videos that are outlandish. Like he'll just have these topics that are just crazy. But he's the biggest YouTuber that's in the space. He averages in views what the Super Bowl averages every year, once a year. He does it every time he uploads a new video.
Okay.
So when I think about independence, I also think about he's in a position where he can say no to Google, who offers him X billion amount of money for his channel. He said no, because I understand that if it's worth that now, I can get that evaluation to 20 billion simply by doing what I'm already doing, and it's what I want to do. So I think we've already circled around there. But the thing is, I was never in disagreement about the streaming model. I look at it and I'm like, fam. Here's the craziest thing they put over our heads in my opinion. You tell us that music is only worth this as a stream, 0.0004%, or what cents? Excuse me, 4 cents.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
You tell us that, so you make us believe by that business model that our music is not worth anything. Yet, I know these advertisers are putting in millions and millions for the advertising space to be there because they have it. So then, wait a minute, how much is it? So I said this, and I would love to get your input on it. If we replace the word stream with traffic, a lot of us might be pissed off out here.
Yeah, of course.
Because if I tell a marketer, hey, as a marketer, I'm going to get you to your website, I'm going to get you 150,000 possible customers a month. You know that's bread. You know that's money. And I got to shell out a certain retainer for that. And it ain't going to be 0.003% per visitor.
Here's a perfect example, right? I did El Capo for Jim Jones, right?
Right.
To date, that album's up to about, I want to say, close to 130 million streams to date.
Sheesh. Okay.
And so you're trying to tell me that album's been listened to over 130 million times, well, songs combined. And like, where is the advertisement dollars that would match that? Like how many? So you're trying to tell me at least, not saying 130 million people, but hundreds of thousands of people have gone to your site to listen to this album. Why doesn't my payment reflect that?
Especially if they stayed for at least a minute and a half. Like say the song is 3 minutes and the average listener is about a minute and a half. That's money.
Let me tell you how crazy it is. That album came out in 2019. I get paid monthly off that album. My payments have stayed the same from 2021 till now, every month.
That's wild.
So that goes to tell you that the same amount of people are listening to this project day after day. why doesn't my payments reflect that? I'm not saying I don't get paid, but I know it doesn't reflect the amount of traffic I'm bringing.
Yeah, and then when I see, okay, so put that in addition to, I don't know if you saw, there was a study that was done about either 2 years ago or 1 year ago. I got all of the stuff to back it up, but somebody did a study about, from the producers, the engineers, people that basically have their hands on the music, how much of the percentage of the pie of how much money makes on a yearly basis do they actually make? And I think the percentage got to 12% in the traditional music industry, right?
Right.
12%. And I'm like, my brain just started kind of trying to figure this shit out, where I'm like, if I have the power, you as arsonists, creating the music that you create, I helped build this house.
Right.
And you telling me that I can own the investment that I had that has built this house. There is no Spotify without music. There is no streaming without music. Music streaming without music. Built this house, and it only affords me a bathroom.
Right.
So I'm with you. There's no argument on that for me.
Right. I mean, again, and like I was saying before, I'm not here trying to bash independent. I just want people to ask more questions. Like, again, I keep going back to the same thing. Until we know the definitive price of a stream, we're playing a nasty game. And this is why I said we in the worst place ever, because we have the least amount of knowledge ever right now of the business that we're in. Not because the money's not good. The money's cool, of course. I've been making a living off of music for over 20 years. So I would be a liar to say the money's not good. I make good money off of, I'm sitting in my own studio right now.
Right.
You understand? So I'm not complaining about the money. What I'm saying is, I don't want to be the dude producing records for the rest of my life, hoping that I get this amount of money and not knowing what the real price is. You understand? Because look, a company will come in and say, your arsonist, we want to buy your whole catalog. We'll give you X amount of dollars. You just got to make the decision. Is this good for me? If it is, then I'll sell it. If not, I won't. You're not basing it off of, okay, cool, my music it generates this and this is the real price. You don't have
the proper metrics.
Right. The information is too scattered. Like if there is information, only a handful of people know, which bothers me, because it's my music, it's your music. You understand? It's like, even with YouTube, how do they pay out? Monthly?
They pay out monthly, and the way that it fluctuates with the ad money, you cannot rely upon that. Even though it's good money, like some months I get some videos that go off, looks real good, right? It absolutely ensures that I can make my music in peace and not need that as my main stream of revenue in order to do what I'm doing. However, it fluctuates based upon a system that we have limited metrics on.
Right.
Same as streaming and with music, right? It's just that it seems like they got more to work with on this side for whatever reason.
Like, here's my thing. You have an audience of 250,000 plus, right?
Right.
Subscribers,
almost
I'm assuming,
there,
right?
Yeah.
250,000 plus. Can you imagine if you had even if it was a brand new network, and you had 250,000 viewers, what you could charge for commercials off rip?
Look, no, I'm with you, because I asked the same question as this, arsonist. I asked the same question as this. Why is it that none of these platforms give you the option to export your followers as part of your email list? They have emails. Why don't they give you that option?
It's too much power. You have too much power at that point. Why would they do that? Because then you could take your followers with you. They want to keep them on the platform.
Exactly.
And I know you know that by now.
Yeah.
They're not letting you take that. You can have all these fucking followers, but right here on this platform. You're not taking this shit to
You're not taking it to your website or none of that shit. Yeah.
You're keeping it right here.
Yeah.
So again, you are independent, but when it comes to certain decisions, you're not.
You don't have the choice to be.
Right. And again, look, when it comes to quote unquote independence, yes, we can make a lot more moves now without answering to a lot of people. But when we get to a certain point, there's a ceiling on our independence.
Sure.
That's the point I'm trying to make. And everybody's trying to crucify me for it. I'm like, listen, man, at the end of the day, I'm not mad at any artist, any producer. I'm saying all of this because I want to better certain artists and myself included. I'm not making it sound like I got it all figured out. I don't. When I got that information about Universal, I was stuck for 2 to 3 days. Damn. I'm like, what fucking game have I been playing? And then I had another dude from a label come into my studio, like a high exec from a label. I don't even want to mention his name and throw him out there, but he said, "You're arsonist, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I see you trying to put out artists independently." He said, "You're killing yourself. Just sign a label, man." He said, "You're gonna play the game anyway. Whether you like it or not, you're gonna play the game. You might as well play the game with them. They know how to play the game better than we do." And this is a dude who has put out multiple platinum pop stars. I'm not talking about no rap shit. I'm talking about in the likes
who
of
knows
Britney
the business,
Spears,
sure.
Backstreet Boys. He told me, he said, you're looking at the shit fucked up. Yeah. Go get a deal. Like, jump in bed with these labels and do some work with them. You understand? Because they're gonna get you to where you need to be at. You could play that shit like, yo, I'm gonna stay independent, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. They don't give a fuck about that. They looking at you like, okay, cool. If your independent artist gets to a certain level, we'll just offer them a certain amount of bread and do a joint venture with you, and we still doing business with you anyway. So you might as well do it now than later.
Well, then here's where I got a little bit of pushback, because I think you said a lot of valid things in it, and there's nothing to be debated.
What he told
me. What I'm saying is, this is where there comes a conversation. You said something I think that was really vital in all of this, is that if you want to get to where you need to go, you need to jump into these bed with these labels, and because they obviously have the income, they show it blatantly now. They're not even trying to hide the shit. But my question is, what that means for an arsonist is very different for what that means for a rapper from Oregon who is trying to figure out how to make this a full-time living. When I'm thinking about independent artists, or independent in the making, I should say, because I think that's probably a better way to preface it in this conversation, I'm thinking of somebody who's looking at it as a small business, and they're saying, here are the things that I must establish along the way in order to get to where I'm trying to get to. That person can't get there if they don't understand what's their number. What's your number, dog? Like, what's your number? What number is going to make you say this is a thriving and successful career for whatever your name is? What that is going to be very different for you, arsonists, because look at the amount of success that you have had. And for how long? You've been successful for as long as I have been. I got my first job, because remember I used to listen to y'all shit in my lunch break. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I made my first song, my first beat, when I tried to make my first HEATMAKERZ type beat, didn't even know I was trying to do it, but I was low key. Just I love the sound. You've been successful damn near as long as I've been making music. So I understand that, but at the same time, I know that your standards are different. I'm saying that ceiling, that zooming out, the ceiling on independence, it is what it is. However, I think we may be surprised by what the average Joe or the average artist and producer actually needs to make. I saw a stat, and I'm going to give it back to you real quick. I saw a stat that said in order to be considered the 1 percentile financially in California, $400,000. That's it. That's it. 1 percentile a year. I can pull up this map for you. Matter of fact, I got the map here.
Tell me,
see, this is what I'm saying.
$4,000 a year, they're in the 1 percentile.
$400,000 puts you in the 1 percentile. So I'll give you some more. Let me actually pull this map up. I wish I could put it up here in front of here. It was posted by Barry Hefner, who does like a lot of information in the industry. But Texas, 425,000. I want to say New Jersey, 548,000.
New York got to be the highest, or one of the highest.
I think. Hold on. What is this right here? I don't know these states by heart, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, the whole idea is, what do you have to make in a year to be considered 1% of your state? To me, the odds of somebody getting here to $450,000 off of their music and all their different streams of revenue because of music is more of a possibility than becoming the next arsonist.
Yes, but in the process, you will become the next arsonist. If you find a way to make that off your music every year, you can't tell me that you'll go unnoticed for year after year. I can't see that happening.
Right. Well, unnoticed. When you say unnoticed by whom?
I'm just talking about in the grand scheme of things, not necessarily known by 80 or 90% of the public. At least 20 to 30% of your fan, or not even your fan base, but fan base in that circle. So let's just say you do conscious hip hop and you're making $400,000 a year. I would think at least 20% of that community knows of you.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? So I'm just saying, it's all relative when you compare whatever genre you're in. So let's just say I'm a gangster rapper and I'm making $400,000 a year. I should have cornered 20% of that market if I'm making $400,000 a year off a gangster rap.
Right. I can see the numbers on that.
You understand? Like, you look at like my homeboy 38 Special, right? I don't know if you're familiar with 38.
Yeah, of course.
Super independent dude. Meaning, like, as far as independence go, he's figured it out as far as I do this, I do that. If I want to sell part of my catalog and get X amount of hundreds of thousands, I'm gonna do that, and I'll make more music. I'll buy albums from other people. I'll hold it for a while. When it gets a little, a little buzz on it, I'll sell that. Like, he's figured the game out.
Right.
But he also knows meaning he knows all the rules to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying he's independent. A lot of people that think they're independent, they don't know the rules to the game. How can you say you're independent when you don't have all the information?
Yeah.
That's always been my point. So me stating the point about Spotify and Universal, regardless of the percentage and how much money they make a day, that's for me to say, okay, cool. There's a bunch of artists in Universal till this day that have been in the red with them for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
How can a company that makes, I don't give a fuck if it's 13 million a day, 50 million a day, how can a company that makes that much daily have that many artists in the red?
Yeah. Something ain't adding. The math ain't mathing.
Exactly. Because look, just for people that don't understand, right? Back in the day, you sign to a label. I'm going to use easy percentages. You sign to a label, they give you 10% of your own album. They keep the other 90 because they gave you an advance. Let's say they gave you an advance of 100,000.
Okay.
Your CD's $10. You sell 100, you sell 10,000, you sell 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making up a number. You sell 1,000 at $10. That's 10,000, right? So out of that 10,000, they're taking 9,000, and the other 1,000 that was supposed to go to you, that 1,000 is going to pay back what you owe them.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have recouped their money off of you 6-7 times over before you paid them back off of your 10%.
Sheesh.
So you understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's like they gave you $100,000, but they've made 900 before you paid them back that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This has been their business model for years.
Yeah.
So when people be like, yo, what difference does it make that Universal's part owner of Spotify? That's business. Not when it's coming from niggas that's been ripping you off for years. Again, we entered into those contracts knowingly. So I'm not trying to complain. I'm not saying it like they were doing backdoor business. We knew what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't have all the information. Like, if you never looked up that Universal's part owner of Spotify, you'd have never known that.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me though. I feel like I've heard that in passing. But
me personally, I would think that there would be some type of law forbidding that, because it's almost like a real conflict of interest.
Because you can create a monopoly based upon that,
right?
And it feels like that's what Spotify low key be. And I keep hanging on that one, but all the streaming websites at some degree kind of play that game. But with a Spotify, it's a little bit more in your face, because when I go to the homepage, I don't see the artists that I favorite. I see the artists they want me to see. I see the banners they choose to put up in front of me. I see the playlists and the ads I never asked for. And even
my question to you.
Yeah.
If they say you got 1 million streams for the month, how do you know it's 1 million? How do you know it's not 2? Like, how do you know? You just have to take your word for it.
My question is why don't you give me more stats? For instance, Bandcamp has this retention stat that tells you what songs on your album people are listening to the full thing or which ones they're skipping. And a lot of these metrics.
Honestly, when you go, you can see that as far as like if you put up something through DistroKid and shit like that, you can see that. You can see which songs. But
my thing is, why that extra step? Why can't you be transparent, especially if I'm trusting your business pricing model? That should be my thing is this. This is where I have to start looking at them as this third-party website. If I look at them as I need you to get your act together, I feel like it won't happen my generation. It's going to happen a generation after before they change anything. Some kind of strike or something happened like what's going on with the actors. But when I look at them just from a optics, I'm like, y'all ain't changing shit. Cool. What do I need to do? Cool. I need to go get my physical copies of my CD. Who cares that people don't necessarily, the people at my shows play these CDs. They buy vinyls to hang up on the wall. Shit, what's that price point? $30, $50?
Right. And let me tell you what I did to kind of combat that a little bit. But what I did was I said from now on, the projects I work on, I have to do enough so I get a percentage. Like when I did El Capo, I was 25% owner. Mm-hmm. Jim was 25% owner. Empire owns the other 50% because, they gave Jim a huge advance.
Sure.
So I'm just saying all that to say I figured out the way to the game now is I do projects where I'm 50% owner, 25% owner, 70, whatever it is. I need to have enough to see a difference.
That makes sense.
Because if you do one track on this album, one track on that album, keep it real with you. Unless the album goes, it's pennies.
Yeah.
You're not seeing much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got paid more off of doing an independent project than I got paid off of residuals for doing a track for Rick Ross.
But see, I almost compare it to real estate. if you were just going out here buying whatever real estate was available and you weren't doing your due diligence and figuring out this market is going to be really good coming up in the next quarter or whatever the case may be, you would have a bunch of dead properties. And I think a lot of folks are doing that as producers, where they're just producing for any and everything, just thinking about the bottom line, but they're not being as strategic as you in this. And this is something, it's funny because as much as we might have met on the grounds of you saying what you say about independence, there's a lot of mirroring of what we're attempting to do on the other side, because the same folks that you look at and like, this shit is out of here. We're saying the same thing, because if I'm looking as an independent, I can no longer look at them as a partner, as a business. I look at them as a necessity to run my website. For instance, if I have a website like Twitter, right? Twitter has Twitter Blue now, where I can pay the $8. You don't gotta pay the $8, but in order to get access to certain things, a certain type of reach, it helps. Right. Well, that's a good business decision for my business, even though I don't want to be paying them for a service that's been free for the majority of my life.
You made that decision
independently.
based on the facts.
Based on the facts, okay. Yeah.
Right. Like, you had all the information and you made a conscious decision to say, I want to do this.
Right.
Now, let's just say you do that, and now after you pay the $8, they switch the shit up on you. You're like, nah, this is how it really works. You're like, what the fuck?
What am I paying for? Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm just saying. As long as you have all the information, you can view yourself as independent. But when you make a decision based on things you don't know all the facts to, that's not an independent decision. Somebody helped coerce that in that decision. Let
me ask you this: what do you consider them if not independent? Like, what have you been in your mind? How have you been kind of like when you look at an artist that is like that? What do you call that?
Honestly, it's a certain level, and again, I fall into the category too. But it's a certain level of ignorance, because we just assume things to be the way that we thought it should be. Like, okay, cool. We're uploading our music to Spotify, Apple Music, whatever the case is. Cool. We don't think anything of it. But again, back to the point that I made before, if I'm playing for a team and the coach is the owner and I didn't know the coach owned that team, I signed to that team with the wrong information. Yeah. I didn't make an independent decision because you helped me make my decision by not giving me all the information.
Right.
So again, I don't know what to call those people. I just know that they don't have all the information that they need. And if you do and you make that decision, so be it. That's cool.
Yeah.
But when you don't have the information, you make a decision. Somebody's making that decision for you by giving you false information.
Right. And I express this off of the conversation we're having here, and I appreciate all the gems, because you don't owe this platform that. Even when I reacted, I wasn't looking to get a reaction from you. I wasn't even looking to be disrespectful. My thing is, I champion the independent spirit, because I know some of these folks are already fighting with their parents that don't believe in what they're doing. They're fighting with you know what I'm saying?
Just to tell everybody out there, I was the same guy that I was before I figured out the music shit. I'm in the crib, and my father at the time is leaving job applications for me, telling me to get a job and stop making noise in the basement, and this isn't what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. So I get it. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of chasing their dreams. I'm just saying, be fully aware of what you're stepping into, because it can be a hard crush to your system if you walk into something and you think it's one way and it's really not.
Yeah.
Because what happens in this industry is people paint the picture of this beautiful world that you're stepping into with money and cars and women and boats and all types of shit. And then when you get here, this is the furthest thing from the truth. And nobody says anything about it, because people feel like, fuck it, well, I'm making money. Well, shit, I'm making money too, but that's not the point. The point is,
what's the reality versus the expectation you had before? I'm going to ask that afterwards, but you were making a point right now. I don't want to interrupt that, but I was going to basically say.
I forgot that.
My bad. Because you're making a good point, and I want to make sure I don't forget. I'm the same way.
Go ahead, say it.
Based upon what your expectations were when you first kind of like marking your territory in this, and you were first starting to work with those first records before it took off, what was your expectations of this industry versus now having, you said 20 years you've been in this. What now is the reality versus what that expectation was?
Well, at first, honestly, it might sound real shallow, and my whole thing was just to fit into the industry. Like, just be respected by my peers, and people just know that I was a talented, at the time I was a beat maker. I wasn't really a producer yet because I didn't understand the game. But fast forward to now, I want to work smarter, not harder. You understand? It's like, I shouldn't have to put out 5 albums to make a certain amount of money when I know that 2 albums can do the same thing if I just knew what the real numbers were.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, that's my
yeah.
point. And again, every I don't know what the number is. We could be talking about an extra penny a spin. Who knows? But that adds up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and again, for anybody that probably just jumped in, this conversation has nothing to do with like I'm bitter, I'm not getting no money off the music industry, because some people will take it for that. It's not that. It's just that to me, I like playing on a fair playing field. So if I put out a record that I know is spectacular and the label puts out a record that's okay, and they're getting more attention than me, I want to know why.
Yeah.
If we're both putting our music on an independent platform.
Yeah. I don't think I personally, maybe somebody feels different. I didn't personally get that you wasn't making no money. I wasn't getting that you were bitter about the industry. What I got is funny because it's the same energy I saw in Kobe in them last few years. And I'm not saying you in your last few years. I'm just saying after you've seen this game and you've seen it in 3D, Kobe was at the point where his center was shooting threes and he was like, are you surprised? I've seen this shit before. So when I'm watching you explain it, I'm like, this is somebody who's seen the ins and outs of it, and it's just like, this shit is silly. It's silly that we're still having this conversation now.
Feel better. All of you have a chance. I'm not saying that like, okay, independence doesn't exist, nobody stands a chance. Everybody has a chance, of course.
Right.
What I'm saying is, I don't want people to get here and be disappointed when they realize what this really is. This is not what you think it is. When you see rappers on the gram counting bricks of bread and millions of dollars, and again, that's the 0.1%. That's not even the 1%. That's the 0.1%. You understand? So people jump into this music game thinking like, I see niggas holding money to their ear like this, and I'm gonna do the same shit when I start streaming. No, nigga, you're not.
It's not how it works.
Most of the money these niggas is holding to their ear, either they just emptied out their bank account or another nigga gave it to them and then they got to pay that back after they sell some records.
That's nasty work, by the way, too. Because but you're not telling me something new. Because I always felt like this as a God-fearing man. I used to ask God, like, why do you put me in rooms when some of these artists, I'm never gonna put their names out there, but when I'm seeing some of these artists have their lowest moments, I'm like, God, why you put me in these rooms? Because my vision of the industry was very different. And I came in here like, I'm going to have this is going to happen. I'm going to meet this person. I'm going to do this. And then I got in here and the veil lifted up and I was like, this shit like the end of Wizard of Oz. You see, it's just somebody behind the curtains and this shit is just like not what I thought it was going to be.
Like people jump into this music industry and they have a goal, right?
Sure.
To me, the worst thing you could do for yourself is kind of hang your hat on that goal, because the best part of the music industry is the road to the goal. That's where some of my best moments happen. Like, you know, like whether it's being in the studio with this person, working on this project, the goal to me, you'll be so disappointed when you get to the goal. The thing that you wanted to get to so bad, when you get there, it's such a disappointing feeling because it's not what you expected. And part of what I said on that clip was to almost point that out to you. Like, I'm in the industry, so if anybody looks at me a certain way and I'm telling you, we don't even know what the price of the music we're making is. Hold on to that point. Don't hold on to the 30% and the 51 million. Okay, cool. Even if my numbers were off a little bit, the point remains the same. We're in a business where we don't have all the information. That's not a place you want to be in as a creator.
Sheesh.
You understand? It's bad enough we got to try to create and be in a good enough space to create music that people want. But now on the flip side, we got to figure out, how does this creation, how do we turn it into money? How do we monetize this the right way? Not the way where the end of the month we see a check for $350. Meanwhile, we just put a fucking album out. Like, you understand?
Right.
That's the scary part for a lot of creators, because if you think what I'm telling you is going to discourage you, what happens when you put all the work into a project and you get your first check and it says $55?
You
understand? That's what I'm trying to avoid. It's like, not for myself, for future people that's coming, because we think that this place is so magical. But then when we get there, we're like, what?
Yeah. Well, but see, that's the purpose of the content that I do. And I hope that if it ever comes across your timeline again, that we have that agreement, or at least not agreement, but at least that understanding that
I'm gonna follow you after this, man.
I appreciate it. And I put all you, anybody who didn't know before, get from under that damn rock. But the information is in the description if you want to go check it out. The Honorable Jay said, love you, Curtis, but quit interrupting the homie while he dropping jewels. I'm not trying to interrupt. I keep forgetting that y'all are in here, and I'm talking to one of my favorite producers of all time, and we're having a conversation about something I'm very passionate about. So there will be those times where I know I'm gonna forget my thought, and I don't mean to do that, so I apologize. But continue.
I'm gonna be real with you, like and I know this is gonna sound kind of weird, but like that clip that went up the other day, I don't think I'll ever state shit like that in interviews no more, because you don't understand the type of, like, I get anxiety from shit, man. Like that little clip went like mini viral, like, 300,000, 400,000, whatever it's up to now. On my page, it's like 300 and change, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of the attention. You understand? Even though I know people, because people don't know how to, they don't know how to write comments to you. People write as if like I had a personal attack on them.
I deal with that.
Go look in the dictionary and go look up the real meaning of independent. Like, you're missing the whole point. And then when I talk to these dudes, I'm like, how long you been in the music industry? A year, 2 years. You understand? Like 2 years of not making a dollar out of it, and that's no disrespect to them. I'm just saying I've been in it over 20 years and have made a shitload of money. So the shit that I'm saying is not coming from a bitter standpoint. It's coming from a standpoint of, okay, I don't recognize the game I'm playing anymore.
That's where when I did this content, my thing is, I come from a generation of, you don't talk about people in no content. Like, I could never do, and this is not a shot, but I could never do the DJ Academics thing, because I feel like there's going to be a day that I'm going to cross paths, because I'm still an active artist and producer in this.
1,000,000%.
Right? But when I started doing this, the thing that I had to come to an agreement was, if I say it on video, I better be prepared to say it to that person. So then I said, okay, well, I need to be objective first. So even when I had your video, if you go back to the video, yeah, there were some things where at the end, I'm talking in general, like, man, I ain't trying to hear that shit. Like, I'm over here paying my bills off of this shit. Like, but then with the context, it's like, I want to see the human behind it. You saying that part about that, bro, can I just give you transparency, since you gave me that transparency about just the anxiety this shit caused?
Of course.
For me, as an independent in this space, there are a lot of different entities that you're fighting against, it seems at times, just simply by speaking your truth or speaking your mind. And whenever you put information out, and then there's someone obviously with a bigger platform, not you in particular, but someone with a bigger platform that just says the most outlandish things, people immediately give them all of it must be true because they're famous. So my thing is this: I created this platform as a way to say, dog, do not lose your critical thinking, because you're in awe of this person's fame. The information is the information. The human being behind it is still the human being. And that's something that I've always stressed on this channel, was mental health first. And so my thing is this: as an independent, there's already those insecurities that we have of, like, no matter how much success I have, like I told my pops, I had my album, and I love my pops, but I had 2 albums that went #1 on the hip hop iTunes charts as an artist. And the celebration was very quiet. Social media was going crazy, but it was very quiet in the house. I called him and told him. He was like, that's cool. Keep doing your thing. I don't really know nothing about that. And that was that. So, like, when y'all have your celebration, when you get your plaque, what we see on the outside, bottles in the studio, we see all this other shit. So it's like, for us, our highest moments don't get celebrate. And I'm sure that you got some reality you're going to share with me. I'm going to just leave this one thing, and I'm going to leave it to you, is that on our end of things, this is why I try to bring this information to the forefront, because I'm like, dog, if nobody going to celebrate you, we got to celebrate ourselves.
Right, of course.
But that's it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Of course. I mean, and again, just to tell you on the flip side of it, it's not what you think. Like, like every plaque I've got, I've paid for every plaque. No label has ever sent me a plaque from shit that I've done. You understand? So
I didn't know that. Didn't know that.
So again, I've been taking the independent route for the last 8 years, in the sense of, yes, I do records for artists that sign the labels from time to time, but a majority of my money has come from working with independent artists or working on independent projects. You understand? So when I speak about this field, I'm not just speaking blindly, like, I'm speaking to you guys. I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to myself when I say this. So when people watch the clip, I'm not directing this towards, like, the group of independent people that are just sitting over here.
Yeah.
I'm directing, if you're in the music industry, I'm directing it to you. Maybe not the 0.1% that's making 20 million a year, the Drakes and the Rihannas and the Jay-Z's I'm not talking about them. They figured it out. Again, that's why Jay-Z and Beyonce can start Tidal, because they saw the play before it happened. They said, "Oh, we're not gonna get caught up in this bullshit."
And they had the bread to do it. They had the bread to do it. Yeah.
Right. So again, when the people that are questioning what I said, ask yourself that question: why would Jay-Z and Beyonce start a streaming platform just built by artists? Because they knew something.
Yeah.
You understand? They knew that they deserved a fair shot on some platform, so they created their own. But again, the average person, like us, we can't just say, okay, cool, we're gonna put our money together and start a platform. We don't have those type of resources to do that.
And not a lot of us want to put down our art in place of doing that, because if you want to run it successfully, like, it's not like Jay-Z and Beyonce are in the Tidal offices. They can delegate. They have the money to delegate. And I think that's what
they have the manpower to help take care of it.
That's what I learned when I was trying to break away from YouTube. I was like, dog, in order to do this successfully, you're competing with the person that's creating the next Discord. You know what I'm saying? Right. The next YouTube, the next whatever platform. That is their number one passion, and they have the energy to go 150% on just that one thing. Meanwhile, you're splitting it between production on this day and artistry on this day. You're not going to win that race. And so
let me ask you a question, right? Let's just say today you could become 40% owner of Apple Music, right? Can you imagine the amount of money you can get from outside just telling people, cool, I'll get your music on any playlist you want.
Man.
Play it as many times a day as you want. Right. Give me this amount of money.
Yeah.
Imagine how much money you could make if you could sign artists to you and guarantee them a certain amount of spins per month.
Right. You have a lot of power at that point.
Right. This is what I'm saying to you. And that's unfair to me, because the field of musicians is so huge that if everybody's not playing the game, then it's unfair.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that we value your time. We appreciate all this information. I think somebody in here said it earlier. Dave Hates 808 said, you got to appreciate the transparency he's given us from his position is rare. Because a lot of folks, I feel like, here's where my own bias comes into the fold. And I'm going to make sure I put this and be transparent about it. There's a lot of producers that would be considered industry producers that say a lot of wild shit about the things going on this side. And then when it comes up, when a clip comes up, people are not able to give you that extra layer because we don't know you first. And secondly, because we don't know the separation between you and the last person that just told people, if you use an FL Studio, you could never be a real producer. And it's like, oh God, we got another thing to be having controversy about. So
he said that?
I mean, it's just stuff people say on a regular basis, right? They just find, I have this theory. If you want to get your product to get some motion, piss off the producer community just for a small period of time. It's a hell of a rollout. You do it.
Yo, I've been seeing that. You don't know how hard it's been to ignore some of these comments that people are writing about me, man. It's like, I'm trying, like, you would think I told somebody like, yo, your mother's this, your father. Yeah. You would think I insulted people with some of the comments I get. Like, I had to have friends talk me off the ledge, like, yo, are you bugging? Why are you responding to these people? And I'm like, because I'm not accustomed to getting this type of attention from making a statement. You understand? Like, I make a statement and I leave it at that. I don't expect hundreds of thousands of people to view shit and then hit me like, yo, what did you mean by this? How could you say this? Yo, you talking shit. It's only, I'm like, you guys are missing the whole point.
And I hope you don't think they represent us.
No, of course not. I'm just giving you, I'm trying to put it in context as far as what I've been dealing with for the last 7 days because of this statement. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I just don't get why people are so mad, even if you don't believe what I'm saying. How does that affect you? Your business still goes on. If you don't believe me, that's cool. Don't watch the video and go about your business and do what you've been doing. It shouldn't change anything in your life. But people are taking it as if I'm saying you're independent. You're not. It doesn't exist what you're doing. I never said that. I'm saying the definition of independence as we know it does not exist anymore because we don't have all the information before we make a decision.
And this is why I never react to just an Instagram clip. When it's something I feel like can like get a lot of people pissed, I'm never going to react just to the Instagram clip because I know a video editor has more control over your words than you did in that moment. So when I went to the full clip, which dropped the day of, crazy, it dropped the day of the reaction because I wasn't going to do it at first. And then I saw Bagfield drop the clip and I put it up there. So, okay, last question I got for you for this, and I want to open it up if you have time to just a few questions from folks who are in here because they've been showing support and showing a lot of love. You good on time?
Yeah. I'm good. I got like another 15 minutes.
Okay, we gonna make sure we ain't gonna use up all of that. We gonna do this. So, with all of this in mind, because what you're saying, I think all of us have to have a conversation about our independence, right? For instance, me, I embarrassingly, I just this year established my LLC, and I say embarrassingly because it's things that I should have known better already. Because I did know better, I just didn't do some of these things, or I was ignorant to them. But got my LLC. The trademark, all of this stuff is in the process. With that said, though, from your vantage point, from your experience, for those who do aspire to be at least your definition of true independence, and I think a lot of what you're saying is just factual. It's not even just an opinion thing.
Right.
What steps can they do if they say, I don't think that major label infrastructure is necessarily for me, but I do think that there's an opportunity in this new social media age to make some income doing what I love? What would you say to them?
I think it's the team you put around you. Like a lot of people, they'll have everything and they'll be missing a videographer, they'll be missing a producer, or they won't have a studio to record out of. To me, you have to make sure all the necessities are on your team. We live in an audio visual age. We got to see shit now. We just can't hear songs no more. So you should have a videographer on your team. Mm-hmm. You should have a bunch of people that help you market and promote. Like certain things you need to have in place that are necessities. Like to me, if the more people that you have to outsource to, the less independent you are. You should have a team of people that you say, okay, cool, the record's done. I give it to X. He gives it to Z. Z does this, and we know the formula already. Like again, you brought up LaRussell. Mm-hmm. You look at LaRussell. LaRussell got a team in place.
Sure do.
He knows, okay, cool, I'm coming out on this day. We do X, Y, and Z. He's going to handle this. She's going to handle that. And now we're moving. You understand? I just feel like a lot of people, they think the only formula is make good music and just feed it to the world and it's going to pop.
Yeah.
It's sad to say that's not the case. Even the artists, like I remember when Macklemore came out.
Right.
Everybody was like, yo, he's independent, he's this, he's that. Macklemore had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars behind him. I don't know if people know that he had investors. You understand? Same thing with Chance the Rapper. A lot of these artists that people think are coming out the gate with no assistance, they had people behind them helping to put up some bread.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is the optics look like they're fully independent because they're not signed to a label, they're not this, they're not that. If you borrowed hundreds of thousands or $1 million from somebody that you have to pay back, that's not independence. Yes, you don't have to answer to the labels. Right. I get it, but you still are in debt to this person.
I agree. 100,000%.
There's nothing wrong with that because I know a bunch of people that have investors. I'm just saying, don't be fooled by the optics. The optics always make it look like, oh shit, he's not signed to a label. I never heard of that label. This must be an independent label. He's independent. Yes, you can call it that, but it's the same structure as a major label. He still owes the same amount of bread back to somebody.
Right. Well, and then I guess my other thing for that is, aren't these artists in turn, and this is me just asking a question, but kind of answering it for myself, aren't these artists, these independent artists that are posing as independent artists but are taking the money from the investors, aren't they kind of playing the same game as the major labels of making something look like one thing that is not?
1,000,000%, of course.
Huh.
So they're only lying to themselves. They're not lying to nobody but themselves. That's all it is. I mean, it might look good to the public, like, oh shit, he's getting this type of looks being independent, but they don't understand he probably paid more than what the label would have paid to that person to get that look. Because the label already had a relationship with that company. Like, let's just say you wanted to get, back in the days when they had mom and pop record stores, or they had major record stores like Virgin, Megastore or whatever, and you would see an artist poster in the front. The label paid heavy for that, to put that poster in the front of the store. Now, if you're an independent artist and you're trying to do the same thing, but you have an investor, that store is probably going to charge you double what they charge the label because they work with the label month after month after month. They just met you.
Yeah.
So in all actuality, you're in a worse situation. This is why I'm telling you, the guy that I spoke to from Universal that, was a big wig at Universal, he was like, yo, man, you might as well just sign to a label because at the end of the day, when you get your shit popping, you got to come to us to get to that other ceiling anyway. There's only so far you thinking that you're independent is going to take you. They'll tell you that to your face because they know after a certain point, they can control, do you pass that certain point or not?
Shit.
Like, again, we brought up Master P. Master P had several major labels that he did joint ventures with to get to a certain level.
Yeah.
Yes, he sold CDs out his trunk at first. I get it. But when he realized he hit that ceiling, he had to say, all right, cool. Let me get into business with one of these majors, and maybe we do a joint venture 50-50 or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Like even Cash Money has a 70-30 split with Universal for years. But it's still, you have to do it because they know that ceiling. I cannot pass that ceiling unless I jump into business with these people.
That makes sense. I had an OG of mine that kind of talked to me about this, and he was like, don't let your pro-independence be confused with anti-industry. And I think that a lot of folks, it's easy to demonize the labels, right? Because we've heard enough of the horror stories, and they're true, of folks who have had shit. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are making, like you said, decisions that are not independent, that are jumping into bed in these situations, not doing their due diligence. And then when shit goes left because they didn't read on some of these terms, they come back at everybody else like, look what they doing to me, and there's no accountability.
Exactly. Me making the statements I made was me basically giving you facts that you might not have been privy to, where you can say, all right, cool, now I can make my decision based on new facts that I know.
So why is
it? I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking about the situation, ownership, and not knowing the price of a stream. Like, I don't know if artists ever thought about this. Like, what's the price of your work? I know I brought this up several times, but it just always bothers me because nobody seems to question that. It just seems to be a thing that goes unsaid.
But because of you right now, we're having a full conversation about something that this wouldn't have happened in 2004. When I'm over here listening to Killer Cam, and I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? When I'm listening,
we knew the prices of things then. I knew what it cost to press up a CD, to manufacture, what the store bought it wholesale for, what my cut was. I could do easy accounting. I can't do that now.
Can I ask you this last question? Why is this, in your opinion, the worst time? Because that was another statement that you made at the end, that this is the worst time.
I think that was the thing that you might have had a little problem with when I said it, right? But the reason why I'm saying that is because off of my 20 plus years of being in the music industry, this is the least amount of information I've been privy to about my own work.
Damn.
And the price of it.
Okay.
You understand? Because at all times in my career, I can always check and say, all right, cool. Diplomatic Immunity sold 1 million, This is what they were charging. This is my percentage off the album. Boom. I could do some math and I can get a roundabout number. I can't do that now at all.
Yeah.
Like I told you, El Capo has 100 and something million streams. I can see my statements. I see what they're saying. I get it, but I still don't know.
It's not enough information.
Right. If you tell me I streamed 2 million times this month, I got to believe you. I have no clue if I really did that. There's no backlog to check.
Yeah. And you know what's wild? These companies won't hire somebody in their accounts department that they can't give all of the proper information to. They need every single stat, every single demographic, every single information before they make a decision about one ad. They're not going to just spend money frivolously, so they do that.
How about this? Let's just say you put a song out today, and the song did light numbers. It did about 30,000 streams over the course of a month, right?
Sure.
And then you put out another song next month that does 2 million streams because now your audience caught on, you heating up. They're gonna strip that record offline and saying that you're fucking with the numbers because that jump doesn't make sense to them. I don't know if that's ever happened to you before. That's happened to a couple artists I've dealt with where we put up music. The music was doing what it's doing for a couple of months. We put up another song. This song starts going crazy, hundreds of thousands of streams, and then they pull it down because they're like, this doesn't make sense. You was only doing 50,000 streams last month. Now you're doing 400. What the fuck is going on?
So,
meanwhile, they're legitimate streams.
So here's the murky water that I know that at some point in time is going to be the reason why there's that strike or whatever ends up changing this model to what it's going to be next. Who knows how fair that's going to be afterwards. But there's a video, ironically, by Trevor Noah talking about how streaming money is broken down. I can DM it to you at some point. But he's talking about how the money we think we're getting paid every 3 months after our project comes out, that is not money that is reserved for our project. The way that it was described is that here's what Spotify, let's just use Spotify. They make this X amount of money after ads, after streams, and after all of the fees are paid off. They take that off the top. Fees, we got to pay that to run a business. Businesses cost money. Cool.
Right.
When it comes to the artists, the way that they divvy that up, it is not, this is Arsonist's money, this is Curtis King's money. It's who had the most streams amongst all of y'all.
Yes.
Taylor Swift, you get this cut. Drake, you get this cut. And then whatever's left.
What percentage of the marketplace do you own? Pretty much, right? A guy from my homeboy that works at Spotify told me the same thing. He said the way they pay out is based on what percentage of the marketplace do you secure. So if Drake secures 20% of the marketplace, he gets 20% of that money you're talking about. If I secure 0.001% of the market space, that's what I'm gonna get, which is unfair to me.
That is crazy. Look, Arsonist. This is what I say, and this is no disrespect ever to Drake, shout out legend. However, I don't want this nigga Drake in my ads for my music when it's being played, especially because my fan base is like 90% male, 10% female. So when I can increase those numbers and it gets there, I don't want this nigga Drake Scorpio album in my ads right now because you about to take from the traffic I am about to get.
And this is why I say true independence don't exist, because you don't have a choice to remove it from there.
Shit. Yeah, you're making a valid point.
Who did Drake have a deal with before? Before he fully went independent? Before who was he signed to?
Somebody with Jay Prince at first, right? Or are you talking about Cash Money?
Who Cash Money has a deal with?
Universal.
Right.
Yeah.
And where did you see your ad pop up at? Spotify of Drake, Scorpion? All right.
He said, all right.
What I'm saying to you is we don't have control over that. We just got to sit back and let whatever happens. That's where our independence being gone comes from with me. If we can't say, I don't want Drake's album promoted on my shit, then we're not truly independent is what you understand what I'm saying to you? They still control a certain portion of how music gets digested.
How do we combat that? Are we figuring it out in real time?
It takes something that we don't have, which is unity, man. It's too many people that's willing to cross the picket line. We don't have the unity that Hollywood has, because the minute that, let's just say, all the professional rappers and singers and producers and engineers step out and say, you know what, we're not coming back in until the game is fair. Our position will be gone so fast by new artists, new producers, new engineers, because the same way we was waiting to get in position, there's a bunch of other artists that's like, yo, as soon as these dudes move out the way, I'm there.
Well,
we don't have the luxury of striking, to be honest with you.
I was gonna say, let's add the wrinkle of AI, because that shit right now, that is studying. Like, we are the prompts. All of your records that you had.
So there'll be an AI version of you if you decided to strike, they have enough information of you where they can have an AI version of your show, the same answers, the same temperament, everything, because it's been studying you for however long you've been on this platform. Same thing with me. I guarantee you an AI producer can make a HEATMAKERZ version beat that sounds a lot like the shit I've been doing, because I've been using this computer year after year to make beats.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love some of the tools of AI because it's helping to create a team for me, but ain't nothing gonna ever feel like I'm ready. Diplomats, ain't nothing gonna ever feel like I'm ready. You can do all of that, but you cannot master the swing. You cannot master the emphasis on one snare being one velocity versus another one. And the reason why you did it, you can't duplicate that. And that's why I feel like as this shit advances, as a creative, you're gonna have one of the most valuable skills, because I can give you Chat GPT or give somebody else Chat GPT, it'd be completely different results because they don't know the details, the nuance of what you know about your equipment. And so I feel like if we utilize it and step ahead of it, there's opportunity for us to really bring something to it. But
to the new generation, when it comes to AI, will the nuances matter? To you it does. That's true. Me it does.
Yeah.
But to my 6-year-old daughter, does it?
That's
By
scary.
the time she's 15, 16, she probably won't give a shit about the nuances of, does this sound like a Dr. Dre beat, or does this sound like Luther Vandross singing, or does this sound like Little Baby? She won't care at that point. It's like getting your fix.
I don't even want to hear it.
I want to hear some Little Baby. Look, I'll take however I can. Let me just type it in the boom. Little Baby. I don't care if it's AI. I just want to hear that. That's the world we living in now, where people are settling for something that's good enough. That's what AI is. At this point, it's good enough. So if you like, people were passing around that song where I think Biggie rapped one of Nas's songs.
No, he rapped Tupac's song. He rapped Hit 'Em Up.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
What are we doing?
To me, that's blasphemous. I don't want to hear that.
I don't either. I'm a Pac fan, but I still don't want to hear that.
Shit, I couldn't wait to. I always wanted to hear Biggie do a song with this person or do it. Like, I can't wait. And to me, it's like even at one point, Timbaland was talking about embracing AI, and he said, yo, I never got a chance to do a song with Big, so this is my first chance. Like, I kind of felt insulted by that. Like, why would you didn't do a song with Big for a reason. I didn't do a song with Big for a reason. We missed it. We missed that boat. It passed. We just got to accept that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go search AI to go find write some lyrics for a Biggie AI and put a beat to it. That doesn't do anything for me as a producer. If I'm not working with the living, breathing artist, it doesn't make sense.
So, look, I know we right at that time, and I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna leave it. I know we right there. I'm gonna leave it right here. This is my last one. First of all, I just want to make sure we give you your roses and say thank you for choosing to be here. You didn't have to give me and give us the game that you gave us, but you gave us a lot of gems and a lot of things to think about as either truly independent artists, or independent in the making, or independent adjacent, whatever you want to call it. We appreciate
whatever you want
that.
to call it, man.
Right, but at the same time, last thing I want to say is, what does that leave an arsonist? If we do live in that world, you said you have a 6-year-old, right?
Right.
I have my son's almost 6. So in this world where they do shift over, and you do find yourself still working on music, do you find yourself working on music? Is that even something that becomes a desire, or how do you kind of?
Here's what I will say to everybody: if you watch the landscape of what's going on, hold on to your publishing. People are buying publishing for a reason. I don't know what the reason is yet, but when you see everybody running to buy publishing, that should let you know they have a bigger plan that we don't know about yet.
Sheesh.
You understand? So again, we don't know what the next play is. We didn't know Apple Music and these streaming platforms would replace record stores. So we don't know what the next phase is. And obviously, whatever the next phase is involves heavy publishing. Facts. So don't be so quick to sell your publishing, because at the end of the day, there's probably a bigger play that we don't know about. You watch, and again, I'm not knocking none of these brothers. You watch the Wayne Sellers publishing, Dream, Future, and the list goes on. There's a reason why these companies are rushing to buy publishing. They know something that we don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know what it is yet, so don't hit me up saying your arsonist.
No. But
I'm just saying there's another play that we don't know about.
I had the same question, because I'm like, if you pay $600 million, you're not gonna pay for something that's not an asset for you. These folks know their money. They know that's gonna make them at least whatever, and it's not just sinking opportunity and commercials that they're gonna make this money off of.
I'll keep it real with you. I got a call at 7:00 my time today with a company that wants to offer me a certain amount of money to buy my publishing.
Sheesh.
I'm just saying that it's rampant. I'm not going to sell my publishing. I'm gonna entertain the conversation. If he says a crazy number that I never thought about, then obviously, but that, that's not in my plans. I just like hearing all sides of the story, so I could be like, all right, cool. Because I still want to get to know why are they buying so many different artists publishing.
Right.
Like in the course of 2 years, I know plenty of artists that have sold their publishing, all the way up to Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. You
understand? So
everybody
I want to know why.
Yeah.
And again, there has to be a bigger reason behind it that we know.
Well, the fact that you're asking questions, even being there in the belly of the beast and all of this, we salute you, because we know that you're doing things that's going to make it a little bit easier for that next generation coming in, because you are asking those questions. You don't have to. You could get your pie and move on. But we thank you for your time. I honestly thank you for reaching out, because you didn't have to do that. But I'm glad we were able to get some more clarity on it, because I think there's nothing, it don't always feel good, but it's good for you when you get the truth. And I think a lot of us got to always, especially if we look at ourselves as independent, you got to question everything about your independence and what you can be doing to establish it more, develop it more. So thank you, and I salute you. And we look forward to hearing from you again at some point.
Thank you for having me on, my brother. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I'm going to follow you on the gram, man. Now that we know each other.
Likewise.
Got a better understanding of you. We good now.
All right, there it is. I'm going to talk to them for a second, but thank you again. I'm going to reach out.
All right, my brother. Be safe.
You take it easy. Peace. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that was Arsonist. All right, DIYers, I want to say something real quick to you, all right? Salute that brother for coming on, because how many videos have we done? Where we've reacted to someone and, they don't owe anybody a response. But there's a lot of videos that you guys suggest to me where folks are just saying some wild things. Even recently, who I feel like has been saying a lot of inspirational things in this new era of his career, and Fat Joe. It was unfortunate when I seen him kind of like talking down a rapper who was asking him for advice at 52. And he was kind of like, I won't say shitting on it, but he was kind of giving the same answer that you kind of see. Like, brother, don't even try it. Don't even go for it. And although I understand both sides of that sentiment, I think it's important that if you can provide a solution or an alternative, you use your platform to do so. And I'm grateful that I get to use my platform not just to talk to people that I agree with. That's not it. That's not the move. Y'all don't want to see that shit. I don't want to see that shit. What's dope is that the last thing he said was about unity. And how do we get the unity? I think it comes from two sides that may feel like I don't really rock with the business practices of the place that you're currently conducting business. Nothing personal, but I'm on this independent side. If we always do this separation of things and don't reach across and try to gain an understanding of, I can see how this is the situation you're in, we're going to be stuck in the same fucking cycle we've been in. So I feel like part of my responsibility, and don't think I understand this whole thing, I'm getting it as I go, that part of my responsibility is to reach out or accept when people reach out that say things I may not necessarily agree with. Shout out to Juju McLean. Like, he reached out to me and he was like, yo, I see that video going stupid viral. He made the comments about you shouldn't rap after you're 30 years old. And he came on and clarified, and he actually gave some defense to it. This is never me saying, okay, now I agree because they gave an explanation. This is me saying, let's hear them out. One of the best things that could have happened for me in this growth of my YouTube and the growth of just me as a man is being able to listen to another perspective and say, first of all, I know I don't have all the answers. So let me hear from your point of view so that I can gain more information, because it's going to help me in the end of the day. Even if I don't agree, it's going to help me. And I think what he gave in here was a lot of things to chew on, a lot of things to think on, whether you agree or not. I think it's important that you really question how independent your independence is. You call yourself a DIYer. I don't ever want y'all to get this confused. When we say DIYer, bro, that don't mean that you're doing everything yourself and you hate the industry. Go read the mission statement on the website. That's not what DIYer means. They don't mean you hate the industry and that you putting a middle finger up to them. That's not the energy. To me, that's like old school independence, right? It's independence with an ego, a chip on your shoulder. We don't need that. Why? Because when you have a thriving business, you have too much fucking business to tend to be concerned about what the industry is doing. Now, I react to these things that are here as an independent artist because I'm also a content creator. And in doing so, I learn things that I didn't know that help me in my independent business, but also I'm able to react to things that I'm like, this y'all superhero? This is y'all guy? And of course, we don't ever get the opportunity to talk to him like we did RSONIST today. So, am I independent even though I live in my mom's basement? No, you're not. I mean, I guess you independent in that room. But if you ain't paying your mama nothing, if you ain't paying a light bill, if your mama could tell you to turn the AC off, you ain't independent. What? What you mean? If she could cut your internet off and your conversation ends, what kind of independent is that? What? What? You will own nothing and like it. This is a mindset of some people behind the doors, if you will. Once again, Curtis hooks me into a vid. Now I got to see this whole thing later. And I'm going to try to keep this short because I don't want to make this a long, extended video. I just want the opportunity to kind of clarify. Because some of y'all are asking me like, bro, why are you bringing on folks that are not independent and allowing the platform to, I'm like, why the hell would I not? I don't want to be around a bunch of people that agree with me all the time, because then you can live in a bubble and never grow from it. And I feel like I'm growing. I feel like I'm hearing things that are like, okay, I'm learning from people who, like, take hip hop, take rap out of the equation. I'm learning from other successful businessmen, right, who are trying to figure out how to pivot in a business that is shifting and changing. I'm doing the same thing as a content creator, as an artist, independent artist. This shit is shifting. Everything is shifting. Bandcamp just got sold. I'm trying to figure out how to pivot in this game. Well, some information that you get can plant a seed that helps you change the next 6 months of your year. So I don't never take that for granted. Plus, they have access to the information the general public doesn't. And he was willing to disclose that, which is something that I'm like, you want to not do that because you have a difference of opinion with him? No. I feel like I have matured enough to be able to have that conversation with anybody that may be in disagreement with me. What I will never do is provide the platform for somebody who's just trying to make a circus out of this situation. And I've been grateful to not have many of those. So that's been my thing. Perspective is important, and limited information can combat growth. So can being delusional, man. Sitting around people who all agree with you. What like, we'll walk each other off of a mountain in the name of independence. Get all hyped up. Man, the next move in independence, the way we get away from Spotify is to jump off a cliff together. Let's hold hands and go. Yeah. You get enough people, you might think that's a good thing. That's stupid. That's stupid. Use your common sense. Hold on. Do I got that clip?
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
That's all I'm saying. Like, what are we doing? So we got to make sure that we stay open. Who's independent? I think that it's important that, first of all, before you ask who's independent, you got to ask what's independence. And what part of it what part of it can you make peace with and say, if this part of my business is not independent, does that then negate the work that I'm putting in? I always feel like what's up, Mondog? I always feel like if you have the power and the freedom to make decisions at a moment's notice, and you don't have to ask anybody for permission to do so, you're moving more independent than people who can't do that. So if that's the case, let's take a website like Amazon, for instance. Amazon still has relationships with American Express, Discover, Visa. They don't own those companies, by the way, right? We know they don't own those companies, but they have relationships with them because they help them as a payment gateway when you want to check out and buy the things you want to buy. They have their Amazon credit card, but they accept money from somebody else that you got a credit card relationship with. Does that make them less independent because they don't have their own currency? No. I mean, you could make that argument, but I think we have to kind of like make a decision for ourselves and draw the line. What is it that you value being independent about? I am not shameful to have a third-party website that helps make my life easier. That's $9.99 a month. You know how websites have widgets? Shopify has a widget called Printify, right? Printify is a website that basically prints my merchandise. This is my Curtis King merchandise. They print my merchandise after someone buys it. You think I want to be sitting here pressing every t-shirt? Imagine the best and the worst case scenario happens. I start selling hella t-shirts. Now I'm downstairs pressing them motherfuckers for the next 2 days to get these orders out. And I'm not making music. Oh yeah, AKA the product that made you care about who Curtis King is to begin with. Can't make content. You got to make peace with the things that you're like, all right, cool, I will be dependent upon this. This doesn't make me any less of anything. And I don't think RSONIST was saying that. Doesn't make you any less of anything, because the most successful businesses out here, how many billion-dollar companies still use MailChimp as their email provider, email service? Are they not independent? So I get what he's saying, and I think he makes it's a great statement, because it makes you question, is my independence built on a foundation of ego? And I think a lot of us have to question that. I know mine was at one point. You got to question that shit and check it immediately, or this game is going to check it for you. Pressing hella t-shirts while singing Negro spirituals is crazy. It's like building a house. You hire out contractors. Nah, I built this house by myself, brick by brick. You feel me? I put the spit shine on that. I put the brick by brick. Who wants to do that? Except for somebody who's in the contracting business. That's where ego comes in. Nigga, you want it that bad? You want it that bad? Independence to a fault. Oh my gosh. Independence to a fault is what that is. It would take us owning everything to be independent. There might not be a true independence without unity. You feel me? Thank you, contractors. That part. It's hard to be an independent artist. It's hard. I think 305 got us. It is hard. It is. But I think it's more difficult when you don't have specific goals. And I think that's something that RSONIST was relaying to us, is figure out what that number is for you. I'm telling you, I'm going to pull up this map one more time because y'all need to see this map. This map is a thing of beauty because it really puts into perspective how much money you would have to make if you desired. Some people think like their magic number is, if I only made $1 million, my life would be so much easier. And it's like, you ain't even got to make that to be considered the 1 percentile where you live at. This was the map I was talking about and referring to when I was talking to RSONIST. Look at this shit. So the point of this was made by Barry Hefner, who gives a lot of great advice to independent artists and musicians. And he said, what do you have to make in a year to be in the top 1% of your state? Find your state. Find your state. I'm going to move this out the way so I can see the chat, but find your state and tell me if it's a surprise. This is what you got to make a year in order to be considered 1 percentile. You know when they say like the 1%? You know when they say that? That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. When you start to actually dig in these numbers and you realize, like, stop playing the fantasy game and start getting into real life. Start crunching these numbers. Start asking yourself, do I need $20 million to do the kind of shit that I got to do? Do I need that to do what I got to do? Or do I need $454,000? I know that's not sexy as $10 million, but that shit puts you in the 1 percentile. And you know how many folks right now that's in this 1 percentile that employ your parents, that employ you, right? That own the local businesses that I go shop at? It's literally right there. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know we have aspirations. I don't want to ever have you thinking small. You got to think big, bitch. I ain't ever going to tell nobody to be thinking small. But what I'm saying is, these are the numbers when you really dice it down. Will that number be sexy to somebody who thinks that a successful rapper must make millions? No. Will this get you more support from your family? No. You may get a few phone calls about borrowing money. Will this get you on the radio? No. Will this get you a major feature? No. You still gonna have to pay for all that shit. But at least you have a number that says, if I live in Nevada and make $312,000 from my music, my merchandise, from doing shows, from making content, from doing collaborations, from getting sync opportunities, from being an affiliate marketer for, say, like a DistroKid, from talking about the software, the hardware that I use and getting an affiliate payment off of that shit can be done. That can be done. Because even in my state, let's do the math on my state real quick, and I'm going to end it on this note. Do the math on my state. So my state is $454,000. Hold on. Yeah, $454,000 a year. 454. All right, divide that by 12. That's $37,000, $37,833 per month. Dice that down. Let's say divided by 30 days. That's $1,000, $1,261 every single day of a 30-day month. You trying to tell me you can't figure out a way long-term to make $1,000, $1,200 a day off of your music, off of the content that is out there when you got social media is willing to pay you to post? I'm here to tell you this is what the DIY spirit is about. Fuck all them glamour numbers. We can get to that when we get to that bag. But if we don't know what to do with $200,000, we won't know what to do with $1 million. This is within reach. At least that's the way that I look at it. So, I'm here for the numbers that actually move the needle. I'm not here for the numbers that are like, well, Curtis, how do I get a Grammy? Nigga, I don't know. I don't have a Grammy. Curtis, how do I make $2 million? I don't know. Curtis, how do I make 6 figures a year? I can give you help on that one. I can show you what my business model looks like. But the other shit, I don't know till I get to that threshold. And in the meanwhile, I'm learning I have a ceiling doing this just by myself. I'm a DIYer, but that doesn't mean that I do not have help along the way from people with a like-minded vision. DIYers, that's what DIY is about. DIY is not about F the industry or F with, I don't need no help. That's your ego talking. That was never the mission statement. DIY is about this. I asked you for help. Matter of fact, I paid you for your help. And you didn't give me any help in exchange. You didn't give me what I paid for. You didn't give me what I asked for. And you know what? You don't owe me that. But I asked you. I need help. Vulnerable. I need help. You told me, no, I don't have time. Cool. That's a lot of us that deal with that, especially when we get into music. You said, not out of spite, not out of, I'm going to show you. You said, I understand. What I am trying to build is not valuable to anybody until parts of it is built. Well, if nobody is going to help, I'm going to start it myself. I'm going to do it myself. However, when I get some motion, I will delegate these responsibilities to the proper places, and I will scale the intelligent way, not by ego. Not by ego. That's what the DIYer spirit is about. And I don't want no artists over here thinking you represent the DIYer with that bullshit about, we don't need nobody. Yes, you do. You're going to have bags like me. These ain't sexy. These ain't sexy. You don't want none of this, Dewey Cox. You don't want this kid's called sleep deprivation. You don't want none of this. Shit ain't fun. But I'm grateful to be able to have the power that I have with it. That's what happened to me. I asked for help and what was told is they didn't have time. That's how it is. I'm in Africa, Kenya. Shout out to you, Zach. That's the wrong bag. Amen to that, man. Word, you financially educated. Every rapper should. The moment you look at this as a business, this whole thing switches, man. This whole thing switches. In the moment that you see that a ceiling doesn't exist, especially with the team that has like-minded individuals, it's out of here. If I was an independent local beverage company and Coke or Pepsi wanted to partner up, I was able to piggyback and get inside the same stars. I ain't turning it down to be super independent, man. I hear you, my dog. I hear you. And I think this is what happens with leverage. And I think what a lot of us should give some thought to is, am I building this up one day to sell it? Right? Am I building this up one day for it to be something that I have that is profitable enough to sell? Because business, it happens to businesses every single year. People build businesses just to sell them at its highest point and live off of it for the rest of their life, and then continue to do whatever they love based upon the money they made. Or are you doing this to actually grow a business? If you wanted to grow a business, your whole shit gotta change. None of this, I'm gonna take care of it later. I'm gonna register that song later. Yeah, I've been looking into sound. No more fucking looking into your PROs. You stop playing business. And I say this to you, not judging from an ivory tower. I'm saying this because I had to have the same conversation with myself looking in the mirror. You're faking the funk, Curtis. Where's your LLC? Get your shit straight. This is your business, right? You wouldn't even be able to set up in a brick and mortar. You couldn't even set up in there if you didn't take care of these things. Just to be able to do business with an LLC. So if you're gonna do this as a business, do it as a business. Outside of that, those of you that come in here with your theories, shut up. Shut up. I just be like this.
Oh, no.
I don't want none of that. I don't want to hear about, tighten up. Thank you, Thomas Davis. Tighten up. Stop playing business. That 1 percentile is out there waiting on you. And you know what's happening? It's somebody right now that is not making excuses about how to get to that shit. They about to get to that this year. And you could too. But you too busy all in the videos. All in the social medias. All in the TikToks doing dances and shit. All in the comments telling somebody else what they need to be doing with their career. When's the last time you sat down and took care of your own damn business? Huh? 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 Shout out to everybody that came through here. In the famous words of Suge Knight, come to DIY. Come to DIYs. Come to DIYs. Come on, come on, come on. All I'm just trying to say is that the DIYs got something to say. Oh, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is crazy. Everyone has time to help. When you don't need much of their help, take nothing personal. That part. All right, my friends. I think that's going to end it. I got a rehearsal with the homie Gemini for some shows that are coming up. My guys coming in here, we're going to go ahead and rehearse. But outside of that, thank you so much. I'm going to leave this live stream up. I hope you enjoy the content. Thank you so much for supporting it, hitting the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button on the way out of here. Your viewership, your support is greatly appreciated. It is the reason why conversations like the one I had with RSONIST today are even available. So I thank you, as well as RSONIST, but I thank you for making that a possibility. All right? I said it before and I'll say it again. Y'all are literally continuing to change my life. And you are the support system that I was looking for very early on when I started this independent journey. When there wasn't a bunch of videos and resources to go to. Y'all have become that even if you don't know that. So I love you. I appreciate you. And I want to see you win. And you gonna win. Irregardless of you got my help or not. So it's time to reconstruct. I'm with you. Time to restructure. Have to rethink and pivot. Change or die. Adapt, adjust, or get crushed is what I say. All right, my friends, we up out of here. Shout out to RSONIST one more time. I'll be back here tomorrow for another live stream to cook up some music from scratch. I look forward to that with the homie Eugene O'Neill. We're going to be chopping up samples from a special guest or a special company. I'm going to tell you about them tomorrow. Don't you even worry yourself. Y'all have an amazing evening. Please share this video and all that good stuff. I will talk to you soon, all right? Blessings. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Go on and let the people know that you enjoy what you're seeing. I'll see you soon. Peace.